there, it's red. So today I just wanted to talk to you guys about one of my favorite books that never gets talked about, and it makes me really sad because it's actually kind of amazing and beautiful and I love it so much. That is Sorta Like a Rock Star by Matthew Quick. Now what inspired me to talk about this book with you guys, because I know I've mentioned it before, but I literally never see anybody talk about this book, and it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. This is written by the same author that wrote Silver Linings Playbook, which, as you know, my favorite author, and that's my favorite book. But this is probably my second favorite book by Matthew Quick, because it's just kind of a wonderful, wonderful book. And I was inspired to talk about this book to you guys because I recently learned that one of his other novels, Love May Fail, is being adapted into a movie, which of course is wonderful. Anytime a Matthew Quick book is going to be adapted into a movie, that's a wonderful thing. If you guys haven't read Silver Linings Playbook, I'm sure a lot of you have watched the movie, and even though they are somewhat different, they're both fantastic, and that movie is incredible. It's incredible. That's what Jennifer Lawrence won her Oscar for. So I am so excited that they are adapting another Matthew Quick book into a movie. That being said, I'm just wondering why this poor book is so overlooked, because I think it could make such a cute and inspirational movie. Basically, this book is about a girl named Amber. Amber lives with her dog, Bobby Big Boy, and her mother on the school bus that her mother drives for a living. Of course, no one knows that they're staying on this bus, because if they did, the state would know and they would take her away from her mom, which is the last thing that either of them want. Despite her circumstances, Amber is absolutely one of the most positive characters that you could possibly read about. She's so optimistic about everything that it's infectious. It's infectious, and she's always touching people's lives. Her best friend is a boy of similar age to her. She's in high school, and he has some mental disabilities, but it doesn't keep them from having a connection and being best friends, and her always looking out for him. And his mother is kind of almost like an adoptive mother to Amber. They're very close, and his mother oftentimes picks up the slack for where her mother doesn't really fulfill her duties. Her mother's kind of a mess. She loves her mother, but she's kind of a mess. His mother is just everything that she wants to be in life. Successful, independent, kind, and she looks after Amber like she's her own daughter. Amber goes to school. She volunteers at a retirement community. She visits an old veteran that doesn't have any friends, and she teaches English at a Korean church. This book definitely has its super adorable random elements that I feel like are just so common in Matthew Quick books, but it's so much more than that. Despite this somewhat all over the place plot, it is such an inspirational book, and it's broken up into 3 parts. And the second part of the book, it made me cry. It made me cry, sad, tears. I feel like out of every book that I've read, this book captures what it is to grieve. This book somehow manages to almost illustrate with its words the feeling of grieving for someone and feeling so lost and heartbroken over someone that isn't around anymore. And watching her go through that, or reading about her going through that, it just, I don't know, it got to me and I just started crying. And I don't cry for books very easily, but this book made me cry twice. The first time was in the second part of the book, and it's just so beautifully written that it's hard for it not to affect you. And the second time was at the end of the book when it was such a happy crying. It's the only time I've ever actually been so moved and inspired by a book that it made me cry happy tears, because it was just so heartwarming, and the love and just I don't know how to describe this book other than the fact that it moves you. I feel like this book affects you. It affected me. It definitely affected me. It is such a beautiful book, despite the very, very random plot line and all the random types of scene that occur and just all the craziness that goes on in her life. And it's funny and it's sad and it's heartwarming. And I feel like this book is just everything. This book makes you feel everything. And it's kind of beautiful to read about a character who should be so small and insignificant, but still manages to touch so many lives. It's such a weird and original story, but it's beautiful and it's absolutely wonderful. I just really want to talk about this book with you guys because it is one of my favorites, and I don't mention it nearly enough, although I have talked about it a few times. It's so underrated, and I don't know. I don't understand. Of course, Silver Linings Playbook will always be my favorite. That book just moved me and inspired me in ways that I don't even know if other people can relate to. But Silver Linings Playbook is absolutely fantastic. Sorta like a rock star is very successful in affecting you the way Silver Linings Playbook does, but it's different. It's still different. It has that same quirky and witty style that is Matthew Quick, but it's different. It's not, these books are not copies of each other. These characters are not copies of each other. Every person that Matthew Quick writes, every character could be a real person. They're just so well-rounded and complex that these characters don't fall flat. They don't fall flat. These seem like characters you could meet in real life. I almost feel like I know these characters, like I'm friends with these characters because they're so real, and I think it's that ability to capture that realism in his characters that makes his books so easy to affect you and to touch you without making you bored. It's not like those sad books where the entire time it's very almost romanticized and there's this tragic ending or something that, you know, yeah, you're still sad about, but you kind of saw it coming, but there's this sort of, I don't know, cliche drama to it. These books are so real, but they're quirky and they're witty and they're funny. They're funny. They're so ridiculous sometimes. And despite all of that, it can still touch your heart. And I think that's a pretty amazing writing. That's a pretty amazing skill. That's an excellent writing ability to me. And I have never gotten bored during his books. His books, they are so nicely paced that you find yourself just enjoying the journey of reading these books. You don't find yourself getting bored. And that, trust me, that's difficult for me. I get bored very, very easily, and I never get bored reading his book. I never get bored. I just enjoy them. I'm not rushing to the end to see what happens. I enjoy getting to know these characters and being immersed into their lives. It's just, I think it takes a pretty great writer to be able to accomplish that. As an aspiring writer, I hope that would be something that I would be able to do. I don't know if I'd ever be able to do it as well as Matthew Quick does. So that is all for this sort of quick review, book talk. I guess it was a review. I guess that's what it is. I just really wanted to talk about this book with you guys. Nothing formal. I really, really, really wanted to discuss it. I've heard people talking about Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock. I've heard people talking about Silver Linings Playbook, as they should. As they should. It's not unjustified. They're both fantastic. But this book needs love. This book needs love, particularly on BookTube. I think people need to give it a chance because it's one of those books where even just thinking about that book makes me feel emotions. And it makes me feel stuff, guys. I feel overwhelmed with a love for this book. And I hope that maybe I can inspire at least one of you guys to give this a chance. And I hope that it has a similar impact to you guys as it has on me, because this is the type of book that inspires great reading. Alright, I think that's it. I will get more videos out soon, and I'll talk to you guys later.